And speaking of heavyweights, though, and Usyk actually, Usyk fighting for that vacant WBO belt seems to be likely. Obviously, we've been talking about it for some time. But who he's fighting for that vacant belt might be an aspect of conversation and debate. Joseph Parker, who is now ranked number 2 at the in the WBO rankings, and his promoter, I should say more specifically, or one of his promoters, because he's co-promoted now by Matchroom and Duco Promotions. Dave Higgins said that we want the fight with Usyk, that it would be a part of like history repeating itself. We fought Ruiz for the vacant belt, blah 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 blah. And obviously, we do know that Eddie Hearn has been talking about the Chisora fight with Usyk for some time now. So, guys, thoughts on what the hell is going to happen here with Usyk and the WBO belt? Because I think even though it hasn't been said yet, I think we can assume AJ Pulev happens and he gives the WBO belt, and it's going to be Usyk versus somebody. Parker, Chisora, more than likely. So, guys, thoughts on what's next for Usyk? What would you like to see? What do you think is realistic and most likely to happen? Thoughts, Rob?
Yeah, I think the Chisora fight's nearly done for Usyk next. But as far as the WBO bout, I think Eddie recently spoke. I think he's written to both sanctioning bodies regarding like the IBF and the WBO. He's trying to get a resolution where the order is established. They're not both calling them at the same time, or one will sit back and say, look, I think his point is valid. I said, look, essentially, I know they don't care, but it's like you're doing everything in your powers to prevent us getting a like undisputed heavyweight. It's against like the sport kind of thing. So can we not work together or whatever? So I don't know what's going to happen. Joshua recently seems to be bringing up about dropping one of the bouts, like he's going to have to maybe possibly deal with it. He's initially said, I don't want to drop any of them, and this, we'll make it happen. And lately there's been a lot of AJ, if I have to vacate, if I have to do this, if I have to do that. So I don't know whether there's no resolution coming or whatever, but yeah, I think Usyk Chisora will be made for, I believe it's going to be in Manchester, March time. I think there's a.
And you think that, let's say in the world where WBO belt does get vacated or stripped or whatever it may be, that fight gets named as for the vacant belt and Parker gets looked over? Which could happen.
Like Parker's apparently slated to return in February, which suggests to me he's on the Mikey Garcia card.
They've been talks about that, yes.
Which also Gassiev is supposed to be on, by the way. So I don't know if it's Parker Gassiev for some heavyweight debut for Gassiev, but he's been out for nearly 2 years, and Parker's been out with the spider bite. But whatever.
I forgot about the spider bite.
Yeah, I'm starting to.
Hey, spiders in Australia are dangerous. Okay.
Yeah, but so yeah, again, I don't know. I think if anyone could possibly make it Usyk Chisora next for the vacant WBO bout, it would be Eddie Hearn.
To finesse it, yeah.
But either or, if it's Chisora, Parker, Usyk, it's kind of Matchroom. You know what I mean?
I understand. Before I jump to Gary, do you think one fight's better than the other? Like ignoring all of the machinations of the belt and the sanctioning bodies and the politics of how we got here, do you think Usyk Chisora, Usyk Parker, which fight do you think is a better fight?
I don't know. I think Parker's, since losing to AJ and White, hasn't set the world alight with any kind of performance. Whereas Chisora, yes, albeit maybe lesser, opponents. There's a
low 3-fight win streak.
Yeah, there's like I don't know, a good win behind him, if you know, like and like a sort of a good feel of support for Chisora. He's always going to be. Let's be honest. Do you want to see a Usyk Chisora press conference or a Usyk Parker press conference?
I absolutely want to see a Usyk Chisora press conference more, but I do agree with Lunatic in the chat saying Parker is the better fight. I think Parker.
Yeah. I'd say the better boxer and the better fighter. I think it'd be
I'll put it this
a
way: if
good
it
fight.
wasn't for a belt, right? If the belt's not on the line, I like Usyk Chisora more because I think Usyk does need a couple more fights before he gets to those top guys. But if it's for a belt, I think Parker Usyk makes more sense.
Look, I'm going to go off my own
Yep.
thing. Like, oh, Dillian White's number one. It shouldn't have been Brazil for the thing, you know. So Parker's number two or whatever he is in the rankings. He's more deserving than Chisora. So, I'm going to keep that same energy, but
I would say
we
this.
know how these things work. It doesn't necessarily mean the next guy in line gets the shot, right? So,
I would say this: if we can somehow get Dylan White versus Usyk instead for the vacant belt, I'd rather prefer that. But that's beside the point. Gary, thoughts on Usyk? I know you're a huge fan of Usyk. You think that he's going to run over every heavyweight. So thoughts on these two matchups? What would you prefer? What do you think is actually going to happen?
I mean, we can say, okay, let me start there. I would rather Usyk Chisora from a fan's perspective, right? Just if I had to watch a fight, I'd rather have Chisora because at least there's a chance Chisora might knock him out at any point, right? Because Usyk's going to have to outbox him and move, get in and out on him, and he's never really going to be hurting him, but he's going to be winning every round. When he's not hurting him, he's not breaking him down, that means Chisora's still fresh. And Chisora's got cracks. You know, he can put him away at any point. That's always going to be there. That's you're always going to be on the edge of your seat saying, okay, can he keep getting out of dodge? Because it takes one shot for Chisora to end this. You don't have that with Parker. You don't. Parker's not really going to knock him out. You know, like, I mean, maybe, I guess, in, a miracle, and then he rides his unicorn to the moon, right? Like, but it's not really going to happen. So he's just going to get outboxed, right? Parker just gets outboxed by Chisora, and it's not a fan-friendly, entertaining fight. It doesn't have that suspense where, oh, Chisora's just missing with that right hand. If he hits it, this game is over, right? Like, there's no suspense in the Parker fight. He just gets outboxed and loses every round. Chisora, like, it's like a Wilder fight. Like, well, he's not out of this fight because he's still got that power and he's still fresh. So I'd rather have this Chisora fight. I don't think really either of them are that deserving of a title fight. Chisora's got a 3-fight winning streak, so I'm going to take the other side of the coin. I'm going to say Chisora's more deserving of a title shot. That's why all those things considered is why I think it's going to be for the WBO title and it's going to be Joseph Parker because he's less deserving and it's a less entertaining fight. And that's how boxing works. Worst fight possible.
I kind of agree with Gary. Like,
I love Gary's logic there. Just to reiterate that, because it might have been confusing for some of our listeners. Gary's thinking is that because it's boxing and boxing sucks at times, even though Usyk Chisora is the better fight in his opinion, we're going to get Usyk Parker because that's a less fun fight. And I understand it. That's boxing. That does happen sometimes.
I mean, look at like Chisora Takam. He was
such a good fight.
Losing every fucking round of that fight and then found that overhand right from hell twice.
and not just losing every round, too. Getting beat.
Oh, yeah.
up.
He was doing the worst version of the rope-a-dope I've ever seen. So, you're not, I think Ali didn't get as hurt as Chisora was getting, but yeah, he just then found that, I think that element of danger is there. I kind of agree with Gary that maybe that element of danger isn't there with Parker. Because, I don't know, I've, for a while now, just felt that Parker just hasn't got any kind of, like, dog or spite in him. I just think he's, like, kind of a nice guy that's kind of, like, putting on some boxing gloves.
He had a really good performance against Dylan White. He just didn't win it. Like, that, I think, was a dog performance. I mean, he came back at the end, knocked him down, right? Like, that was a really great performance from Parker. It was what we wanted to see, a more aggressive Parker from the AJ fight, right? And he did do that. He just lost in a very close competitive fight. And guess what? When you're the 8th best heavyweight in the world, you're going to lose to some guys. You're going to beat some guys. Like, that's just the way it is. And I think, like Gary said, we don't have that power, even more so. It makes it much harder to get yourself out of those spots where you're losing fights because you really don't have that pop. Even though he hurt Don White, it's not like you really put him out. He just hurt him and knocked him down. White got back up and made it. Parker is one of those guys that is high-level mediocre, if that makes sense. He's high-level basic, I think is how Santiago described Joe Smith
Mad
Jr.
basic. But Gary, It goes Usyk number 1, Parker 2. This is WBO, by the way. Kalnaki, Ruiz Jr., Dubois, Junior Farr,
huge dip.
Hunter,
Oh, that's better.
Romanov,
Eh.
Chisora at 9, Zhang, and then we're going into the likes of Schwartz, Fujimoto still in there,
Shout out
and
to
then
Fujimoto.
Hergovic
That
is
guy
4.
Schwartz
Imagine a
was-
world where Junior Farr is number 6 and Filip Hergovic is 14th.
That guy Schwartz was drastically worse than Otto Vaylin, and Otto Vaylin should not be anywhere near your top 15. So, what Schwartz is ranked again based on what being awful?
Dude, Fujimoto's on the ranking. Did you see him against Dubois?
I did. Fujimoto versus Schwartz. Who you got?
Schwartz.
Oh,
I got Schwartz. Don't get me wrong. They're both in the top 70. They're both in the top 75 of the division.
Maybe.
Not maybe. They are.
I don't know about that. Not now.
Oliver McCall.
Oliver fucking McCall, the legend.